Today on the table I have the Bersa Thunder Plus and the SIG P238. You're going to see a pretty substantial price split between the two firearms. The P238 is about $232 more than the Bersa Thunder Plus. Now, but because that price split is so drastic, say your dealer uses a percentage markup, it's even going to be a bigger split than if you were to use just a flat rate markup. Trigger break. The SIG's trigger breaks very crisp, very nice. Bersa, this is a double single in single action mode. I do get movement in the front sight and the trigger is kind of long. By itself, without comparing it against anything, the trigger's not that bad. Now comparing it against the SIG, it's kind of awful. Double action mode. About what you'd expect. Lots of movement in the front sight. Not that great. Trigger reset. Right there on the Bersa. On the SIG. Right there. Even though the Bersa has a better grip, like it fits my hand better, I would probably be more accurate and more proficient with the SIG. It's a shorter, crisper trigger and it breaks cleaner. SIG is a lighter firearm. It's also not as long. Not as tall. And it is skinnier. Your SIG is a single action only. What that means is you gotta have your hammer back to fire it. It will not fire with the hammer down. Now the Bersa is a double single. It actually has a decocker right there that you push. It'll drop the hammer. So you can have the hammer down off safety, so then just your first shot you have a nice heavy trigger pull, and then after that the slide will already rack the hammer, giving you a lighter trigger pull. Now the location of this is terrible. It's next to impossible to maneuver with just your thumb. I mean, it is doable, but you really have to switch around your hand position. But that's kind of the same thing with the mag release. Like from your normal shooting position, my thumb falls way short. So I take my pointer finger, put it up here, turn the firearm, and eject the magazine. Magazine going in and out, not too bad, about average. Slide release, very easy to hit. SIG, magazine release from your normal shooting position, very doable. Going in, pretty close to the same. It's a little bit smoother. Make sure to function check these at the gun shop, because the last SIG I had in that I returned, you practically needed a rubber mallet to install the magazine. Slide release, very easy to hit. Safety, totally doable. You can operate this, except for racking your first round, completely one-handed. Sights, your SIG, you do get night sights. They are all the same color though, which sucks because in the dark you might get them confused and have like backside, front sight. Your Bersa has a 3-dot system also. These are not night sights, just your normal white dots. Even though the SIGs are the wrong color, I'd rather have night sights over normal sights. When you purchase the firearms, the Bersa, you do get a hard case, but it's just folded plastic in the back. It's going to eventually snap at some point, but it does give you a case for a little bit until you decide, do I want to keep a case or am I going to throw it in the recycle bin? The SIG, you get a very nice case, hinged in the back, nice sliding in the front. It's cut out for the firearms, very high quality. Gun lock, instruction manuals, all that stuff, and you do get a holster. Now, if you want to carry this cocked and locked, the holster does completely cover the trigger guard, so you're good on that. But you got to be careful because if you go on that kind of an angle with this holster, we'll see if I can do it. There's a little notch on there, and it pulls the firearm out of battery, which would be issues because then you draw it, and with a round in there, if it's not completely clean, it'll probably stay out of battery, and it's probably not going to fire. Myself, I have probably an unreasonable fear of stuff getting in there and causing this to malfunction and not letting the hammer drop. So for me to carry this, I'd want the hammer down to make sure that there's nothing in there, but you're going to have to be really careful with setting the hammer down because you have to pull the trigger to let the hammer down because this does not have a decocker. So you're probably going to be letting the hammer down in your house or your car or whatever, which can set you up for a negligent discharge. Because of that fact, if I don't have a safe place to let the hammer down, I probably would just carry this without a round in the chamber, hammer down. That is a really good snag point though, so be careful when you draw this that it doesn't get hooked on your clothes. You're definitely going to want to do a two-hand draw, hold your shirt, and draw. This one does have a decocker, which, even though that decocker sucks, the location and everything is very hard to use. If they put that on this SIG, this firearm would be so much more awesome. I really wish this was a double single instead of just a single action. On the Bersa, you don't get a holster. You do get a much higher capacity, though. You're looking at 15 plus 1, I believe. Yeah, 15 plus 1, so over double the capacity of the SIG at 6 plus 1. But this, like I said before, I wouldn't run it on safety just because this control is so ridiculously difficult to use. I would just go, round in the chamber, hammer down, and then just have my first round hard to pull. As far as carrying the firearms, the SIG's going to carry better. It just is. It's smaller, lighter, more compact. But you do have the single action only trigger, so it's something you have to decide if you can deal with that or not. As far as using at the range, because the Bersa has a higher capacity, 15 plus 1, you're going to reload this less. You're going to enjoy it more. You're probably not going to get the marksmanship you'd get out of the SIG, but just the overall functionality of it, you'll probably like it a lot better. Now, which one would I pick? Well, if I'm looking to carry, and I have the cash, if price isn't an issue, obviously the SIG. If I'm on a budget, and the SIG just isn't an option, I mean, I could carry the Bersa, but it's chunky, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it does have the advantages of being a double single. As far as at the range, I like the SIG. It just looks better, it's higher quality, and it does have a better trigger break, allowing me to work on my marksmanship and possibly being more accurate than with the Bersa. But the Bersa does have the higher capacity. As far as if I had weaker hands, older girl, whatever, the SIG is drastically easier to rack. The Bersa, this takes a lot of force, but it is still doable. So, I mean, it really kind of comes down to you. Look at the pros, the cons, get a feel for what you're looking for out of your firearm and make your decision. My personal pick for the range or carry would be the SIG. But thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave in the comments below which one you would pick and why.